All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from. Welcome to this stream. Sorry, we've started a bit late. We are having some technical issues behind the scenes, but we are still setting up. Could you kindly just confirm if you're able to hear me well on the chat? So you can let me know in the chat if you're able to hear me well as I try and get my co-presenter on the stream to join us. So just type on the chat, let me know if you can hear me okay. Welcome. I see we have representation from the AI Collective community. Welcome everyone. Welcome Arthur. Okay, so let me know if you can hear me kindly. Let me know if you can hear me. Am I audible? Okay. All right. So I'm seeing some responses. Thank you for confirming. And yeah, if you lose me at any point, just let me know on the chat. Behind the scenes, I'm still trying to get our co-presenter to join us. So kindly bear with me. We'll have some bit of delays. But yeah, welcome to this live stream. I see we have a few people joining us. We have Arthur from the AI Collective community. Welcome. I see we have Tamar. Welcome to the show. We have B. Mohi. Welcome to the show. It's good to have you. Thank you, Newton, for confirming that you can hear me. Yes. So we're going to get started because we have quite a lot to cover and we don't have that much time. We barely have an hour to cover this session. So let me just go ahead and pop my screen. So Edgar, you can also confirm if you're ready. I have my co-presenter with me, but he's a bit stuck. I'm trying to get him on the live stream to join you guys, but we'll keep working throughout as we continue. So I'm going to pop my screen here. And for those who are joining us for the first time, this is actually a part 2 of a session that we had, I believe it was 3 weeks ago, where we had an introduction to GitHub Copilot session. So the idea here is to reintroduce GitHub Copilot. A lot has changed. We have so many new features. So the idea with this session is to try and bring you all up to speed in terms of what we can do with Copilot. So this is a part 2 of that session. If you were in that session, you will probably find the demos here a bit familiar because we'll just pick off from where we left off. And then if you're joining us for the first time, so you were not with us for part 1, that's okay. Part 1 was actually recorded and is accessible. So there's a link that I am going to share with you. As you can see, part 1, the entire training was recorded and is available on the ADC YouTube channel. So you should be able to access it and basically just rewatch the first part of this session. So I'm going to copy this and drop it on the chat. So that's where you need to go to access part 1 of this session, because you'll need that context to sort of piece together the ideas that we're going to share in this session. Then the other thing I'll mention is that these sessions are in preparation for an event that we'll have at the end of the month. That is the GitHub Copilot Dev Days Nairobi event, which will be happening on the 25th of April of this month. So I believe the registration is full, but there's a waiting list. I see Arthur on the chat, so you can just let us know if there's an opportunity to still be part of this event. But if you haven't yet, you can still join the waiting list. And in case more slots open up, would be very, very happy to host you on the 25th. So this is sort of like an introductory session, just to introduce us to GitHub Copilot. And then on the event, we'll be having some hands-on workshop, and we'll do a lot more with Copilot. All right, so that's the second thing. So as I said, we're going to just pick off from where we left last time. So if you were in that session, you're probably familiar with this diagram, where we were talking about the difference between vibe coding and using AI to code as a developer. There is a difference, and we've seen so many discussions, so many debates on online platforms. Engineers just talking about, hey, is this era of vibe coding now already catching up to us? So we have so many interesting stories, people dealing with AI code, AI slop, you name it. So with this session, we aim to see how Copilot is not just being used for vibe coding, but also mimics the traditional software development life cycle process. So this is what we've been covering. And if you have any questions on the chat, just let me know, drop your questions. This is designed to be a two-way sort of session. So it's not just us presenting. If you have any contributions, if you have any comments. So for example, what's your take on the idea around vibe coding versus using AI for proper software development? So what are your ideas? What are your thoughts? Happy to have conversations around that. Let me just confirm everything is okay. All right. Yeah, so just drop your comments. And what we did on the first session was we started seeing how Copilot can be used in these different and distinct stages. So this is a framework that we are familiar with. And we started by showing off how you can use Copilot to basically plan, right? So our scenario here is that we have a website. Let me just zoom in a little bit. So we have a website and we wanted to add some cart functionality. And then we worked with Copilot in plan mode to generate a plan in terms of how we can address that particular functionality. And then we went off to the design stage. So right here, we also had a custom design agent build out some UI designs for us. And we saw all that right here on VS Code. So this is where we're going to pick up off. So we didn't do the design review. This is where we're going to start from. So I'm going to pop up my terminal. And again, guys, if you have any questions, let us know on the chat. So let's try and run this application and dev. Okay. So we have our application that's running here. It's in port 3001. You'll notice that I'm using the integrated browser in VS Code. So if you've not tried out integrated browser, I'll be showing you at some point in this demo how useful it can be, so stay tuned. So this is the simple web app that we're working with. As you can see, it's just a simple page. Most of these features are not implemented. So this is me clicking on these different features, and we basically don't have any functionality. And so what we did here is we worked with a custom design agent, and we saw in real time the agent come up with these designs for us, okay? And I think I can even do one better. Let me try and go to that exact chart that we used for part one of this session. Let me see, adding card functionality to Codebase. Yes. So you can see this is where we started. We worked with Copilot in plan mode, and we asked it to create a plan to add the cart functionality. It did that, gave us a plan. And then we switched over to working with a custom design agent. As you can see here, I am using my designer agent, and we asked it to basically build out the designs. It's connected to this tool. So this is the tool that we're using. It's called Penpot. It's an open source, sort of a Figma alternative that's open source. So we actually saw the agent, the designer agent, build out these designs from scratch. So we did not do this at all. And as you can see, I'll try zooming in. You'll see that we have some some bit of functionality, we have some bit of designs. It gave us the mobile design for the same application. And so the next step is to basically ask for a review, right? So we have the designs ready. I'm going to pop up Copilot. I'll open a new chat. So we talked about the concept of customization when it comes to GitHub Copilot. And at the bottom here, if I click on agent, you'll see that I have several custom agents, one of them being the design reviewer agent. So this work was done by the designer agent. I now want to hand this off to the design reviewer agent, and I'll basically ask it. I'm just going to confirm that my Penport MCP server is running. So this way the agent will be able to talk to this tool, and it will basically just do a review of the designs as they are. So I'm going to ask it to review the designs, right? So I'm going to ask it to review these designs, and I'll throw in a please there. So I'm seeing some questions. Other is asking, while the agent works, Other is asking here, what is the best way to utilize Copilot to develop an Android application? That is a good question. I have not used Copilot to develop any Android applications, so I may not be speaking from experience. I'm also not sure if Android Studio and any other IDEs designed for Android development, if they have Copilot support. That's something I would need to double check for you. But what I'm going to show here is basically going to be of the features available on Visual Studio Code. Some of them are already available in Visual Studio and other IDEs, but other to your question specifically around Android application, I am not entirely sure on how that workflow would look like. But if it's something that's achievable on any of these IDEs that have support for Copilot, then you can be sure that you can easily spin up that workflow as we've done with these normal workflows. You can easily just start in plan mode, plan out your application, and then just give Copilot the tools, the extensions, and anything else that it needs to build Android applications, and then it will be able to get started. So probably that's the answer I'll give, not from my experience because I haven't really used it for Android development, but it's something worth trying. Okay, so we can see here that the agent is asking us, which designs would you like for me to review? Yeah, so I'm going to enter a custom answer. I'm going to ask it to review the designs in Penport from the designer agent. What aspects would you like for me to prioritize? It should not be asking these, but let me just submit. So the reason why I'm saying it shouldn't really be asking about that is because this custom agent has all these instructions in terms of what it should be looking for. So you can see it's using the Penport MCP server. Again, we talked about this in part 1 of this session. And it's basically now trying to access these designs. It's trying to access these designs that we saw come in from the designer agent. The idea is for it to just tell us, hey, are these designs okay? Do they match the quality that we're looking for? Are they compatible with the current web app as it is? So it's basically supposed to be doing that. So let's see. Okay, so James has a comment here. James says that AI has come a long way in helping even the senior and more experienced developers in moving and building faster. AI plus experience equal magic. James, I couldn't agree more. That's totally accurate. AI sort of enhances on what it finds. So if you have your own existing workflow on top of your experience, you can basically do a lot more by having AI just to make you a lot more productive. As you've said, move a bit more faster. So that's a very good comment there, James, and I agree with you 100%. So I see my co-presenter is trying to join us. So Edgar, I'll try popping you on the screen and then just let me know if you can access the screen.
It's okay.
All right. So hi, Edgar.
Hello everyone. I'm really sorry my computer just acted up before joining the call. Yeah, but I'm
No
happy
worries.
to be with you today. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so maybe you can just introduce yourself briefly to the community.
Yeah. So hello everyone. I hope you are all having a good evening. My name is Edgar Cheng. I'm really sorry I can't come on screen because now yeah, the demo gods today. I don't know what happened. So uh, I'm the Microsoft MVP in Microsoft Foundry and Copilot Studio, and today I'm going to show you showcase all about prompts in GitHub and how you can use it actually to create very beautiful applications. Yeah, so all of this is just a warm up of our big event that we are going to have on the 25th this month. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Edgar. Looking forward to your demo. All right. So as we can see, we have our design reviewer agent that's currently working. So let me just scroll up and then you can just look at what it's been doing. So after confirming what it should be working on, it executed these designs, or it exported these designs from the penpot tool. After doing that, it was able to also analyze the current code that we have, and then as you can see, it's opened up its own instance of a browser. And I said I'm going to talk more about integrated browser. And as you can see, we have this browser instance. And at the very top here, you see this label says sharing with agent. So that means this is a browser instance that this agent of ours has full control over. So it can navigate the page, it can click on buttons, it can access the logs, it can access the elements. So this is basically a browser that is built with having agent users in mind. So you've seen that, and I think there's a step here where the agent basically opened up the application, and it confirmed that, hey, we are yet to implement this, because if you follow this plan that we are working on, by coding versus SDLC. So if you follow this layout, we are basically in the design step, right? So we haven't really implemented this feature, and it has been able to confirm that because the feature is yet to be implemented. Then we see here that the agent has now given us a report. So it's categorized it as accessibility. So there are some critical issues. Let me just expand this a bit more. So we have some critical issues on accessibility, on branding. So it has noticed that the design has a different branding from the current application. So it's flagged that. So it's given us some typography flags. So there's some mismatch in terms of what we have in the designs versus what we have implemented. Responsiveness, visual hierarchy, user experience. So you can see we have some that have passed, so that's good. And then it comes at the bottom here and sort of gives its own verdict. So you can see that it says this is approved, but then we have some changes that should really be fixed, right? So what we do here, as you can see here, we have some two options. We are working with custom agents. This is the design reviewer agent. We can either hand this review back to the designer agent and then have it fixed based on the report we have received, or we can ignore this and just hand this over to the front end agent. So what we'll do, just for purposes of illustration, let's click on return to the designer agent for fixes. And as soon as we click on that, we'll see that our Copilot chat has now switched to the designer agent. And then we have a prompt here telling it that, hey, we have identified some issues. Please update your designs accordingly. So that is all clearly defined, and we'll spin off that task. If I go back to the design, so that is Penpot, the external tool that we're using. Luckily, if everything works well, we should see the designer agent now considering those issues that were flagged by the review agent and making the real-time changes on these designs. So that is what we expect to see happening. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so this is visible, and hopefully we can see the changes as they come in. So something I also want to show as this works is the agent configuration. Again, we said that building custom agents is as simple as defining a markdown file. So for different agents that we have, you see we have so many agents. If I can basically just show you like the configuration for that reviewer agent, I can click on configure custom agent, and I have my reviewer agent right here. If I click on that, you'll see that this opens up a markdown file, which has the instructions that we have given to define that whole behavior for that particular agent. So you saw we had two options to either return it to the designer agent. We are defining that here in the handoff front matter, or hand it off to the front-end agent. So you can do all these in a single markdown file, and then you'll have a custom agent that basically adopts a certain persona. So that's what you can do with Copilot. So I'm looking at the designs. I want to see if we can spot any updates being made. But as you can see, the agent is executing some code. It's using the Penport MCP server. So, oh, so it's actually implementing. Yeah, that's not right. Okay, that's not right. Let me change something. Let me just steer it. So I'll just give it a message and say, don't implement anything, just work on the Penport designs. We may need to confirm why that happened, but let me steer with message. So probably somewhere in our instructions, there's a loophole in that this agent started working on the code because it's not supposed to interact with the code. The whole idea for this custom agent is that it should basically be working with the Penport tool. So that's something that should not work. So let's see what it's gonna respond. So what you've seen me do here is if you see an agent kicking off a task and it's going in the wrong direction, you don't have to wait for it to finish. You can just type in your prompt and then you can steer the agent. So as you can see, we'll try and correct it. It's doing something that is not expected. So we'll basically try and correct it. So yeah, so it recognizes that that's not what I was asking it to do. That's fine. So now I expect it to now start working on the designs and work on the designs alone without touching the code. So let's see how that goes. For the model, let me switch to Opus. Opus, I believe, is a bit stronger. So yeah, so as you can see, we now have our designs updating. They're changing in real time. So here the designer agent is considering the review from the reviewer agent, and then it's trying to make the real-time changes on the design files. And for this, it's talking to Penport using the Penport MCP server, which we have given it access to as part of the tool set that it can use to execute its task, right? So we'll see it working. And as it works, I'm going to pop in on the chat and see if we have some questions coming in. Newton here has a question. You're asking, do you think the more valuable skill is system structure and design since AI can write the code? Newton, that's a good question. And I feel like most people share in the same idea, in that it's now become undeniable that AI is getting really good at producing code because the whole idea of writing code is very pattern driven, right? It's heavily dependent on patterns, and AI is excellent at identifying and replicating patterns. So I would argue that if your value proposition as a professional is that you can write code, then it's only a matter of time that you can no longer use that as something that sets you apart, right? Because right now, writing code is very cheap. It's not as expensive as it used to be before. So yes, on top of having that foundation of understanding how code needs to be designed and written, as you've pointed out, there are additional skills that need to go hand in hand if you are setting yourself up for a career in technology right now. So you can't just walk around with your main value proposition being that you can write code. It needs to be more than that. So to your question, my answer would be yes, but it's not just limited to the two that you've pointed out. It's not just limited to system structure and design. It's a lot more. You basically need to understand how do we now coexist in this world with AI agents, with human collaborators, etc. So it's a slightly new environment that we sort of need to understand what skills are relevant, what boundaries do we have to set for AI, what will be your role as the human in the loop, etc. So I believe it's an exciting time to sort of redefine how we want software development to be carried out. So Newton, that's a very good call out. Okay, so if you are keen enough, I'm sure you've spotted that some aspects of these designs have changed based on the review that we got. So what we'll do is we're going to hand this over to the front-end agent for implementation. Now, if I scroll a bit more here, you'll see that after clicking on hand off to the front-end design, so as you can see, we're defining, how the flow that we want Copilot to use. We start with the plan agent, hand over your plan to the design agent, then hand over these designs to the reviewer agent. Now, once the review is done and everything has been fixed, let's now hand this over to our front-end agent. And as you can see, we've switched over to the front-end agent, and we have our prompt here in terms of what it needs to do. So I'm going to go ahead and send that prompt. And what we expect to happen now is that this agent should now interact with our code files. Before, we saw the designer agent trying to update the code. That was not the expected behavior. They'll have to go back and see if there's some aspect of that agent's configuration that allowed it to do that. But the idea, what I was aiming for, was that the agent would only do one task, which is to build out designs, nothing else. So here you'll see that the front-end agent is first gathering the project context. So it's looking at the files, what do we have in our code base, and then it should refer to the designs that we have here and then build it out. So the expectation from this step is that we'll now transfer these designs to our running application that we have over here. As I said, it doesn't have the cut feature implemented. So you can see I'm clicking on that, nothing is happening. So we hope that that will be fixed in this particular stage. All right, so as the agent works, let me see again if we have any comments, questions on the chat. And thank you for everyone who's contributing. This is good. All right. So again, for those who joined us after we started, we are basically following a flow here. We're trying to use different custom agents. We're trying to use different Copilot features that are in line with the stages of the software development life cycle. So I'm just going to pop this up again. And apologies, my internet is a bit laggy. So this is basically the process that we're following. So right now we're in step number 3. We're having a custom front-end agent build out a feature that has been planned and designed with Copilot. Again, questions, comments, suggestions, please put them on the chat. And yep. Right, so you'll see that the agent is still working. It's reasoning over what it needs to do. It's read our custom instructions. What does this user want to achieve? Because basically it needs to build out these features following what we have in our design files. And in terms of the code base, right, so we have our .github folder here, and this is the place where we define the different custom agents, any custom instructions, any skills, any prompts. And for all the agents that you've seen me working with so far, we have them all defined in this agents folder. The design agent is working with the penpot tool. And then on top of having a custom agent for design, I also gave it a skill. So this is how you define skills while using Copilot. So you basically have a skills folder, and then inside that folder, have another folder, a subfolder for the exact skill that you want your agent to have. In this case, I want you to have a skill on UI UX design, and then I pass in a skill.md markdown file that it basically contains all the instructions that the agent needs to know to work with the particular tools. So as you see, we are seeing some changes happening on our application. So this is the real-time updates that are happening. I can see that it has changed up the color, which I did not want, but I do know where I messed up for that. So just bear with the screaming colors that you see on this web page. Let's try and see if the cut is working. Not yet, so it's still being implemented. That's fine. As I said, my laptop now is a bit laggy, so probably will have some bit of delays, but you can see the agent is still working. So Jenga AI Consultant is asking, how do we create, let me just pop this up. You're asking, how do we create a new AI agent using Copilot, give it new skills? All right, that's a good question. And I can probably just hop over and do a quick demonstration. So let's assume so far we have a team. So you can see we're building a team of custom agents, right? So we have a designer agent, we have a design reviewer agent, then we have a front-end agent. Probably what we'd need next would be like a security review agent, okay? So your question is on how do we create a new AI agent? So first thing is we do have an open source site where we have these different customizations for different agents, different instructions, different skills that you can easily just import into your like Visual Studio Code and start using. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. And the website is called Awesome Copilot. I'm going to open this. So this is the page. It's called Awesome Copilot. I'll paste this on the chat for you, Jenga, and anyone else who's having a similar question. So if you go on that page, you'll see that we have community contributed customizations that you can use to basically enhance your experience working with Copilot. So you see we have custom agents. If I click on agents, you'll see that I can filter down and I can find so many configurations for different agents that are doing different tasks. So in this case, I want an agent that will simply do some security review. So I can look for security, and I know there is one called SE Security. So this custom agent basically focuses on code review, specifically looking at the OWASP top 10 security vulnerabilities, right? So this is a custom agent that I'm interested in. So what I can do from this website is that I can easily just click on this button here and install it directly, whether in VS Code or in VS Code Insiders. So I am on Insiders, so I'm going to go with that option. And I expect it to give me a prompt here. Okay, so pause on that. We can see that our front-end agent here is asking for my permission to access and navigate to this browser. So let me allow that. I don't know which browser it has decided to open. Okay. Yeah, so Jenga, I'm coming back to that question. So what you can see here is the front-end agent, after building out the application, is now opening it on the browser right here on VS Code. So it has opened it on port 3000, which is not the correct one. So I can maybe tell it to use 3001. I'm sure eventually it will get there, but in the interest of time, Let me just pop that in because I have a different application running on this pod. So hopefully it's going to retry the same thing and it's going to use the correct pod. Okay. Page could not be found. So it's still working. So it's still working on the feature. So, okay, there we go. We have the feature implemented. Let me zoom out a little bit. So if you remember, we did not have the cart functionality in this web app, right? But the agent has looked at the exact designs. And if I just switch over to our designs, sorry, Jenga, I will come back to your question. I just want to show this as the agent works. Where are our designs? Again, I apologize. Okay, so here's the design. So you can see this is what we have on PenPot, and this is what the agent built. And it's sort of trying it out. Yeah, so you can see it's almost an exact replica. Like if you ask me, this looks completely like exactly like what we had in our designs. And the agent is basically following that instruction. So now we have a cart page. We can click on that. I can remove, I can add items, I can reduce the quantities, I can remove an item. And as you can see, this is actually a browser that the agent is controlling. At the top here, we have sharing with agent. So it's basically going to work on this page. You might spot it trying to do those operations like try adding quantities, removing items. It might try doing all that autonomously without me having to be there to click on things and basically see how everything is working. So let's try from the home page. Yeah, so you can see it has reloaded the site. I think it's getting confused if I do operations on the same browser instance as the agent. So I'm just going to let it work. I won't interrupt it. So it should basically maybe try and test out the responsiveness, maybe change the size, click on buttons, etc. So you can sit and watch as it works, or you can go off and do something else. For me, in this case, I'm going to go off and continue answering the question that we had from Jenga. And let me just use an external browser for this part. Okay, so this is, oh my goodness. Tunasumbuana sana na hii internet. Sorry about this. So the question was, hey, how can I build a custom agent in Copilot using GitHub Copilot? I hope you can see this screen. Yes. So again, on the awesome Copilot page, go over to custom agents. I want a security custom agent. So I'm just going to find one. There's one we had identified, the SE security agent right here. And I can simply click on the install dropdown, select VS Code Insiders. It's prompting me to open VS Code Insiders, if you can see this. And then I'll allow it. I'll choose a destination. So where I need to save this custom agent, I'll save it in the same folder as the other agent. So the github./agent folder. I'll hit enter, and there we go. So just by doing that, So just by doing that, you'll see that right now we have an additional markdown file that has been added in our agents folder. You can see the name here is SC Security, and it has the instructions. So this is what your mission is. This is the persona you should adopt. These are the steps. And so if you do a code review with this custom agent, this is what it's looking for, right? So that's how you can create a custom agent. And right now, if I click on this agents tab, I should see the security agent pop up. So Jenga, I hope that answers your question in terms of how you can build a custom agent. And the same also applies for building the skills. You're also asking about skills. So on the same website, just go over to skills and then look for the skill that you're interested in. Again, the idea of a skill is you can have a custom agent for a particular task, but then you want to give it additional capabilities, right? You want to give it some level of familiarity with a tool that it can use. You want to give it very explicit instructions on how to tackle some tasks. So you can just come in here, see if you'll find your own, find a skill that you can adopt in your project. And if you don't find one, it's as simple as in the skills folder, just create a skill.md file and then pass in your instructions. So Jenga, can let me know if I've answered your question on the chat. All right, so at this stage, we have the front-end agent done. So it's been able to implement the feature. We didn't have it before. It has fixed actually most of the issues that I saw with some visual inconsistencies. That has been fixed, so we can test it out ourselves. If I go over to the items, what happens if I click on the cut page? Okay, it hasn't fixed that yet. So it has only built out the cut page, right? So it hasn't added the functionality on the website. That's something you can easily fix using the prompt. So you can tell it to go back, work on the home page and implement the features, etc. Or you can just have that defined in the agent configuration file, and it will be able to follow along with that particular path. All right, so again, this is for demo purposes. So I'm going to skip one step because there's a demo from Edgar and I want to reserve some time for him. If we go back to what we are trying to achieve, let's assume that we've successfully worked with Copilot in the implement stage. I will skip the testing stage, again, just because of time. Or actually, you know what, guys? Let's just do the testing stage. Let's not skip it. So what I will do, I'll just blindly accept these code changes. So what we can do is, since we have the security agent that we've added, let's switch over to that agent. We've opened up a new instance. So we can simply ask for a code review, right? So let's ask this agent to, I think I have a prompt that I can copy here. Oh, bother. Okay, so now we've done the implementation stage. So let's get to the testing stage. I'm going to ask this agent to review this code and give me a list of the issues that it finds. I will hit enter. And the goal here is that the security agent, again, prioritizing the OWASP top 10 security issues, is going to analyze the code and basically give me that particular report. Okay, B Mohi 254 has a question. Let me pop this up. I'd like to know how to integrate GitHub Copilot effectively, including task streamlining and code quality across languages and projects. So what you're asking here is more on defining that workflow, right? You likely have your own way of working. You likely have a workflow that you normally follow, that either you want to have Copilot follow the same, or you want to build a workflow that is specific for the different agents that you work with, right? So that comes down to, especially this part where you're saying task streamlining and code quality. This comes from you explicitly defining these workflows. Now, for me, you've seen how I have identified the different agents that I want to work with. You don't get this out of the box. It comes with that aspect of GitHub Copilot customizations, right? So if you're just using Copilot out of the box, you'll simply get the agent and the plan options only. You won't have anything else. But now it's up to you to sit and define how do you want to collaborate with these different agents. So you define that workflow. I want to have a plan agent. I want to have an agent that will manage my tasks. I want to have, so it's up to you to basically define how you want that workflow to be. And then just as you've seen me do, you can now split them into agents. You have that handoff feature where you can basically instruct an agent, once you're done with your plan, I want you to hand it over to the next agent. So that is how you can streamline that workflow. But again, this will be different for different teams, for different developers, based on your own personal preferences. So that again falls back to you. How do you want to collaborate with your agents? And to part B of your question, code quality across languages and projects, the same applies. We do have some built-in features for, say, looking at code quality. We have code review, code scanning, and everything. But then you can define, like in this case, we have built a custom agent whose only role here is to look at the code base from a security angle. So that, as I said, comes down to you. How do you want to define the role of these different agents in your existing workflow? So I hope that is a good enough answer for you. Okay, so we'll see here that the agent has identified some key security vulnerabilities. This is so not good. So what I'm going to do here is let me just commit this. Again, it's for demo purposes, so I can easily get away with this. I'm going to commit this stuff. Okay, I'll have Copilot generate a commit message because it can, and I don't want to think about it. So add shopping cart and header components. So that's what we've done. And before committing your code on GitHub, there's this code review feature, right? So before committing or before pushing this on GitHub, you can initialize a code review. So Copilot is going to do a code review. It's going to give you some suggestions in terms of what you can fix. So I'm going to do that right now. Before we even push this on GitHub, I'll click on that icon, and you'll see here that Copilot has now started reviewing those changes. It's reviewing the uncommitted changes. Okay, so it looks like it's coped to uncommitted changes. Yeah, that's not what I wanted. So discard. But yeah, so basically it works before you commit your changes. It scans through the changes that you've done. And then as you've seen, it's going to give you some suggestions in terms of how to improve. So note for next time, I am going to use that before I commit. So I'm going to push this. Okay, let's publish that branch. And so what I'm going to do here, our security agent identified issues. So what I'll do is I'll tell it to create these issues on the repo. Okay, so I want it to create a GitHub issue for each of these items that it has identified. And yeah, so hopefully it's going to now use the GitHub MCP server. I hopefully should have given it access to my GitHub account. So it should have access to my repo. And all right, so it doesn't have access to that. So let me fix that. So right here from the tool picker, I'm going to select GitHub MCP server. I'll hit OK. Okay. I think I know what the issue is. So this is we're using a custom agent. So that is the security agent. And I had not configured the tools that I wanted to have access to. So I believe that now I've given it access to the GitHub tools. So I'm going to, I think I can start a new chat. Okay, not that. So let me just send that prompt again. And hopefully it should now have access to the GitHub MCP server. It should be able to talk to my repo and to create issues for what it has identified from that review. Okay, so it has identified my repo. It has created a to-do list so I can track the progress of what the agent is doing, and it's now working. So hopefully it's going to create those issues for us. I can also open the GitHub pull request extension here, and hopefully we'll see the issues as they get created. And we can also now assign these issues to different agents on GitHub, work with some right here locally on VS Code, etc. Okay, so failed to create issue due to invalid label. Okay, so it's going to work through the challenges that it faces on the way. So I'll try and wrap up in 4 minutes just so we have Edgar also do his demo. All right, no new questions. So I'm hoping this is making sense, guys. If it's not making sense, let me know. So we'll just wait for the agent. And again, I apologize. This is super slow. The internet is not working very well for me today. So kindly bear with that. So you can see it's using the different tools here via the MCP server to communicate to the repo. And hopefully it's going to get all these issues created. And the good thing with the issues created now is you won't be restricted to just working with this flow that we've been doing so far. We can delegate this to different agents running in the background. We have the Copilot CLI, so you can assign an issue to the CLI, assign another issue to the cloud agent that sits on github.com, assign another issue to Codex, assign another issue to Claude, etc. So that's why I feel like it's important to have this step. And yeah, so if I refresh here, we should see a list of issues that have been created. And yeah, they are pretty detailed. So that's the other thing that I like having a model do this part for me, because it gives some really detailed summary of what the problem is and the recommended fix. So this is basically a good start. So as I said here, you can assign yourself the task, or you can go ahead and assign this to Copilot. Copilot, for example, there is no rate limiting on the chat messages. Copilot will pick that up and it's going to start working on this. Something that I want to clarify is that this Copilot that I have assigned this task is not the Copilot we're working with locally. It's a Copilot cloud agent that sits on GitHub, right? So if I try and go to the repository, if my internet will allow me. Oh boy. Yeah, so let me bring this over here. Yeah, so here's the repo. We should have the issues over here. And the Copilot agent that we just assigned a task right now, if I go over to the agents tab on my repo, I should see a session that has been started, and the cloud agent should start working on that issue on rate limiting, right? So this is how you can have different agents focus on different issues, all working on the same project. So again, the question that was being asked around how can you have Copilot at different stages, this is an example of a workflow that you can basically utilize. Okay, so I think at this point I'll also pause. So what I'll do, because it looks like we're not able to get through the entire workflow in these 2 sessions, and we will not be having a third session. Probably whatever is remaining we can address at the main event that's happening on the 25th. I'll hand it over to Edgar for his part of the demo. Oh, hey, you can see you now. So I'll hand it
Hello,
over
everyone.
to Edgar. I'm going to stop in your screen, and sorry I took so much of your time. But
No worries.
yeah, so I'm going to pop up your screen.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I want us to just see how this thing is so amazing because we couldn't finish it in 2 sessions. So I really want to see you on the 25th as we expound more on this because it's truly a lot. And right now, we've come to a place that having these tools is a necessity and everyone should be using it right now. So thank you so much. It has been a wonderful session and I really appreciate being here with you. So in case my video lags, I'll go off video and finish up the whole demo. So yeah, I wanted to talk to you today about prompt engineering. And what is prompt engineering? Uh, in my description or how I can explain it well is prompt engineering is like talking to a computer and giving it context. Like what I've seen most people assume is the AI knows everything. Actually, it doesn't because you go there, put your description. Let's say, for example, I want an app to do inventory, but we assume that yes, it has been trained, and what these large language models does, it actually is predictive. It's trained and it predicts the next prompt, it predicts the next result. So having a bad prompt is will actually end up giving us a mediocre result. And a good prompt is like being a good developer. And because being a good developer, you'll have the best uh, best thing that you'll be able to create. So heading over to the demo. So this is what we'll talk about, and it's a simple application that I built, and it's all about building an enterprise application. So we are going to talk about this more in details in the 25th, how you can be able to create an application for enterprise organization, how it can be able to be used. So just a quick overview, this is an application that you can be able to switch different models, like let's say, for example, GPT 4.1, and do just ask anything about it and it will be able to help you. And yeah, so we will go through this, see how you can be able to use prompts to create the best result, how you can be able to build this great application, and also uh, going on to two questions. And if any questions are asked on chat, you can please communicate with me because now I cannot access that chat uh, well. So I'll start with the simple project. So you're seeing we have two empty projects. So that's an example of a bad prompt and a folder of a good prompt. So we are going to build live and hoping the demo gods will be with me today because yeah, I really need this. So I'm noticing my laptop is lagging. Let me switch off the video if you'll allow me. So let me just switch this off. Yeah. So uh, talking about prompts, there are three levels of prompts. The first level is the what most people do actually. So you go there and take your prompt. Like one mistake that I've actually noticed most people do is whenever they have a problem, they go to their favorite AI application, let's say ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, describe their problem, and actually it gives that result. And they take that result and give it to GitHub Copilot or any code generation tool that they are using. So what this does actually, it has a lot of limitation because now in prompt engineering, it comes in three modes. So the first mode of prompt engineering actually is the context. What is the context? What are we really talking about? So I want us to assume whenever we are talking to these large language models, whenever we are talking to the copilot, we need to give it the exact context. What are we really doing? What are we aiming for? And what is the outcome of this? We need to actually give it the comprehensive overview for it to be able to understand. And the next part actually is tokens. And what are tokens? Tokens are the word counts. And the example that I was giving you, people going to ChatGPT, explaining their problem and copying that prompt back to Copilot. What this does is, the longer the tokens actually gives uh, hallucination, because now the LLM gets overwhelmed, because now it doesn't know what it's supposed to do, or how most of the time it does get overwhelmed and actually hallucinates throughout. And having a lower context, actually the LLM or the GitHub Copilot will actually not have enough context, and that all bring us to limitations. So you can see, I hope you are able to see my screen. So this is the first uh, demo that we are going to do. It's an empty folder. We are going to talk about how bad prompt can actually look like an example of a good prompt. So I'll just do a quick prompt. So I want, or let me expand this so that you can be able to see my screen. So the prompt is make a web app for expenses. And what this does, I like to assume, or rather to explain this, like imagine you are on a Ferrari and you are going to a corner shop, to that kiosk, to get a mandazi, because this is a big application and it can be able to do very many things, and it can be able to create a very beautiful result. But ask giving it a prompt that doesn't give it any context, doesn't give it any explanation, and we are expecting it to give us the best result,
Excuse me,
the
Edgar.
extension trying to start generating the code, we'll be able to see those code being generated. And yeah, so as this is still loading, I want us to talk about the 5 principles of a good prompt.
Okay. Sorry, looks like we lost Edgar. Looks like we lost Edgar. Apologies for that. I'm sure he'll try to reconnect. But yeah, let's just give him a minute to try and reconnect. In the meantime, I can try addressing some of the questions that I see on the chat. We have one from, okay, I don't know how to pronounce your name, sorry. But the question is, how can I make Copilot not hallucinate? So I'll tie this to what Edgar mentioned before he was disconnected, that the whole deal with language models is the context that you give them. So language models in general hallucinate because they lack the right context, they lack the proper grounding in information that they need to respond to your prompts. So if you ask Copilot something and it doesn't have the relevant information to accurately answer you, then you might be at the risk of having some bit of hallucination. And that's not unique to Copilot, that cuts across language models. So the simple solution to this is, number one, ensure that you have the right pipeline in place to surface the correct context for these different language models. So, for example, while working with Copilot in VS Code or in the CLI or on github.com, Copilot gathers this context. We have some algorithms that run behind the scenes to ensure that every single time Copilot is working, it's surfacing the right context. So if you're working on a certain feature and it's related to another feature, that feature will be looked in as part of the context. So that is what makes Copilot not to hallucinate, because it's getting the right and the accurate data. Context further. I see Edgar is back. Hi, Edgar. We lost you for a second there, but looks like you're back.
Sorry, may not on.
Yeah, so we have you back. You can
Yeah,
proceed.
thank you so much. Okay, okay. Actually, I'm really sorry for that. So yeah, so from now you can be able to see from the first prompt that we had, it actually started connecting to the MCP server, and so how it will be able to create that web app. So this is an example of a bad prompt, but it actually started the indexing process, creating the style.css and that app. Let me minimize this, and you can be able to see it's actually doing that. So as we wait for it to finish, uh, I was telling you about the principles of the good prompt engineering. So just to sum it up, the first one was role. We must give it the role that we want it to play. The next one is context. We must give it the full picture of what we want it to actually do everything. For it to actually do everything. And next, constraints, tell it what not to do, and the output that we want it. So from the first, it has actually finished it, and let me tell it, start the app. In, let me do ports 5000. So let's see how this app will look like. And yeah, we had a question about how you can use GitHub Copilot to create a code, and this is exactly what it does. You see, I just went and told it to do uh, a simple prompt, and it actually did that, created everything, and yeah, let me allow that. So it's starting this on my localhost on server 5000. So as this is doing that, let me open a new window. So, and in this new window, we are going to talk about now how does a good prompt works. So open a new folder. So let me go to GitHub Dev Days, prompt 101. And a good prompt. So we are prompting from speaking about the agent mode. So in agent mode, we are describing how we want the 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 app to look like. Next, there are three actual modes that you can do in a good design. The first one is ask, and in ask, actually, what you do is like you're brainstorming with the applications. So let me first select a model. I'll select 4.5. Don't want to add context. So that's not doing what I want. Not good. Yeah, so this is what I wanted to show. I hope you can be able to see my screen. And we want to do prompt engineering in three modes. So the first mode is ask, and in ask mode is where we do conversation. So let me start with ask mode. So I want to copy this prompt. I bring it here. And what Ask does is I want now to brainstorm with my application. So you are a senior full stack Python developer, the role. So after it understand the role, we are going to the next process. We are giving it the context. I want it to understand the full architecture of creating a personal experience. Next, we are giving it the stack that it's going to use. So that is Flask. We are going to use Tailwind. We are going to use Lucid, and yeah, and the features needed. So using Ask, we are brainstorming with our agent. So let me expound this. So we are brainstorming with the agent and asking it in a conversational manner. So imagine it like maybe I had not actually figured out something and I really wanted to appear in my application. So using this will help me get what I did not think about at first. So it helps me validate my approach. Actually, it helped me to create the plan. So you see, it actually broke down the architecture. It suggested the database schema, the API routes that our app should be able to use, and having to add the expenses, deleting the expenses, and the whole architecture. And what I want you to see is using this, we are actually making the understood. And I will go to plan mode. And to be very efficient, for plan mode, I actually honestly love using Opus. And you see, Opus is always 3 times. So I use Opus for planning because it will actually come up with the best plan. So in plan mode, I'm giving it the role. Remember the 5 principles, the role of a full stack Python developer, giving it what I want, and using this ask, it will be able to understand the full context. So I'm going to send that in. So as that is planning, let's come back to our former result, and you can see, let's start it on localhost 5000. So let me bring this screen. Let me use localhost 5000. Let's see what it has been able to create. Wow, okay, I didn't able to create an expert, but it's very vague, and yeah, it's just a vague interface where I can be able to give a description. Let's say, for example, I want to buy cabbage. I want to, yeah, cabbage. Let me do prompt amount for maybe 20. Select category, that's food, date, and add that expense. So that is what a bad prompt actually gave us. So will it be different with a good prompt? Let's wait and see it out. I'm really curious to know how this will work out. So minimize that, and oh, yet it hasn't finished yet. So while it's doing that, uh, yeah, now we are on plan mode, and plan mode actually, it helps the uh, copilot to actually think this through, think of the architecture, understand the architecture, how will it be the flow of data from A to Z, and actually structure the whole plan. So I'm still waiting for it to respond. My laptop is kind of slow, but yeah, let's wait for that. So in the meantime, if we have any questions, we can actually pose it on chat. Let me see if there are any new questions.
Yeah, so Edgar, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, so we have some questions coming in, and I responded to one. So there was a question on how can I make Copilot not hallucinate?
Okay.
So probably you can maybe just give your own views on that.
So how to make Copilot not hallucinate? The first thing is context. So we need to give it a very good context, make it understand everything. So imagine it like you are explaining this to a 5-year-old, and having the comprehensive context will make it actually understand what you actually want from A to Z. And I also talked about the tokens. Tokens is the word count actually, because the large language models do not understand our natural language, because it's all based on probability and what it has been trained with. So when we are giving a long uh, prompt or a long context, it actually gets overwhelmed in a way that it would actually it will hallucinate. So a long context will actually make our AI to hallucinate. A short context which has everything from A to Z will actually help us create the best result. So let me switch. Let me go back to Sonnet. Okay, hoping I've answered that. Any other question? You can actually drop questions as we go.
Yeah, so maybe just to add on that as well, I don't know if right below the chat box, there's that
Mm-hmm.
icon on the very right that
Okay.
like a progress something. Okay, slightly above that.
The progress. This.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. So you see on that there's this option to manually compact conversation. So it's
Mm-hmm.
back to that concept of context. So the more you're working with this model, so for example, this is the context window for this particular chat, this conversation that Edgar's been having with the models. And as you can see, it's using up the context window. We are seeing and tracking the progress there. But research has shown that the more you use up your context window, the lower the quality of the responses from these models. So you'll find that by the time you're hitting 60, 70, 80% of that context window, it's all too much information for the model that it sort of gets lost in the middle of what it's trying to do. So that's why we have that feature there where you can manually compact the conversation. So what that does is it takes over your entire context, conversations, every single context that has been pulled in, and then it summarizes that into a single paragraph, and it sort of refreshes that context window. So that is also like a strategy in place to ensure that you're also having the optimum performance working with this model. So in this case with Copilot, the more your context window is utilized, the more it's recommended to come back to that manual compaction, or in some cases, it's actually part of the process. So by itself, it's going to just shrink down the context and then clear it up a little bit. So this will make the context a bit clear to the model and you'll get better responses. Okay, back to you, Edgar. And I know we have about 6 minutes
Yes, actually,
remaining.
that's
Yeah, so no worries, no
so
worries.
correct.
Good thing is that this is all recorded, so people can come
Yeah.
back to it in time.
Okay. Yeah. So this is finishing up. Uh, yeah. So I'm seeing another question as we are waiting for the plan mode to complete. Hoping you can hear me. There's something called confidential information. So
Sorry, Edgar, your audio is a bit choppy. Edgar, can you hear me? Tumekupoteza, we've lost you.
Huh. What about now?
Okay, yeah, you're back. But the audio was a bit choppy. Maybe just continue. I'll let you know if you cut off.
What about now?
Okay.
Okay. So I was answering a question about how does Copilot handle sensitive or confidential responses, and in that, Julia, you showed us a way of how the Copilot does security. That's a built-in feature in Copilot, and besides that, when we are doing prompt engineering, I always advise developers do not expose any key in your environment folder, or do not expose any key directly in your prompt. So, and also when you are coding, make sure that you actually don't all keys, you must save them in your environment folder. Yeah. So waiting that has completed, let me go to the actually is now the agent mode. So in agent mode, this is where now we do the full stack development now. The difference between all these modes is now ask mode, we are actually telling it, we are actually brainstorming with it, what do we want it to accomplish it. Then the plan mode, we go straight ahead, plan the whole context from A to Z. And now in agent mode, this is now building to the end. So I will go directly to agent mode. So yeah, do that, and yeah, it will start working. So this will take quite some time because now I'm really sorry, my computer is acting up. So, and when we start the agent mode, you will start noticing now our Copilot will actually start writing the whole code. So yeah, it has started reasoning, creating the app, and creating the to-do list while it's evaluating it. So we can expand on the templates as we see it creating that. So in the meantime, let me see if there are any questions.
So there's a question on how can I have such a copilot integrated into my IntelliJ or PHP Storm?
So I actually haven't used Copilot in IntelliJ. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So as you can see, it has started creating that project, and it has created the to-do list. So the first mode was to create the app.py with database. The next one is adding the app.py with 6 endpoint, which was that. Then now it started creating the index.html with CDN links and style. So it's actually editing that, and yeah, it will continue till it build the page layout, including the headers, start cards, the chart, and everything. Then adding the expense model, implementing JavaScript data, test data, and everything end to end. So let's wait for that to actually complete.
So I'm just responding to Isaac's question on Copilot support across other IDEs. So we do have a bunch of IDEs that are supported. The only thing to note is that you might find that not all of the features that are available in VS Code are available across all other IDEs. So VS Code, of course, has the most features. It has experimental features. It has the largest number of features. But then we have different features showing up across different IDEs. So I've shared a link on the chat that you can use to basically just see that comparison, features that are available for different IDEs. So I believe that you'll find, at least for IntelliJ, I'm not sure about PHP Storm. Then your second question was, is it paid version or a free version? We do have both. There is a Copilot free offering that has some available features, which again should be accessible on that link that I've shared, and you will see what you get with the free version versus what you get with the Pro, Pro Plus, and the other subscription type. So, Isaac, I encourage you to have a look at the link I've shared, and then you can find information about different features available for different subscription plans. Okay, and again, thank you all so much for bearing with us. We have been having some bit of technical issues, internet issues, and we've gone 30 minutes over. So I think we'll just have 5 minutes or so for Edgar to wrap up. But this is a recorded session, so you can always come back to this link and rewatch in case you missed something, in case you want to rewatch something, and just leave your questions on the comments. We'll always come back and respond. All right. Edgar, looks like your app is almost ready. Edgar, can you hear me?
So it has yes, I can. So am I audible enough?
Yes.
Okay, so as I was saying, now you see everything has been created. We now want to start the local host. It has created everything of this project. It created the app.py containing all the APIs. We have the expenses.db, which contains the database that we saw. Now it's trying to start that up in localhost, and we have it in port 5000. So yeah, it's now wrapping up. So hoping this will be fast, as it seems we
I think the
but there will
final
be
app,
more on this. So make sure. Mhm.
so it looks like it's testing. So maybe the final app is already live.
Okay, let me bring that. Local loss 5,000. Will we wait for that to complete? Yeah, now there we go. Between this and that. So the biggest difference you can see plain. We went ahead and added just expenses tree, and yeah, that was just plain. So when we gave it context, so we started by actually brainstorming with our application. How was it? How we were thinking this will be. We wanted to see the bar chart and the pie chart together. We can be able to see the recent expenses, how we've been spending, and we can be able to actually add in new expenses. So yeah, yeah, that now brings us to this end of this session. And you saw it was just about prompt. So it's so important mastering prompt engineering, because now with a simple prompt, it gave us a mediocre result. But with a good prompt, it actually gave us the best result. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And yeah, I can push it back to you, Julia. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thank you so much for that demo. I can't believe that the difference between those two experiences was just the prompt. So that goes a long way in emphasizing the point that you're sharing, that the prompt itself, how you craft your prompt, how you provide context to Copilot and the other AI coding tools, that really goes a long way in significantly improving the output that you get. Because I don't know how long it would have taken you, Edgar, to build what I'm seeing here from chat, because this is
Yeah,
honestly impressive, right?
yeah, it is.
Yeah,
And
this is
actually, it
actually
is in dark mode.
yeah, yeah. So it has our normal vibe, prioritized dark mode, but yeah, the fact that the difference here is just the prompt quality, that does speak a lot in terms of the role of a proper prompt. So yeah, thank you all so much. I know we've gone way over time. Apologies for that. But thank you for sticking around. I hope this has been useful. I hope you've learned a thing or two. Thank you so much, Edgar. This was such a lovely presentation. So this session is recorded and will be available on the same link. So you can always come back and rewatch. For any questions, please leave them on the comments for this video. And then just to remind us all, we are working towards a GitHub Copilot Dev Day event on the 25th of this month. So I'm hoping that we'll all be there, have some good in-person interactions, play around with Copilot, test things out through workshops and demos just like this one, and of course, enjoy some lovely meals. So, courtesy of the AI Collective community, I don't know if you still have Arthur on the chat, but yeah, we'll call it a night for today. If you want to see more of such sessions, we can probably be holding like these events once a month. I'm totally open to that. If you found this useful, of course, let us know. So with that, I think we'll hand back the evening to everyone who stayed around till the end. Thank you so much. And yeah, so Edgar, this was lovely. Yeah, it was so good to see this demo. Okay, so thank you all so much for
Yeah, thank you so
joining.
much.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining. Hope to see you all on the next one. Enjoy your evening, guys.